We got to go to Rome right now. Take a look at this. We have smoke from the Sistine Chapel in Rome. And if we get a little bit of a closer look, we'll be able to tell you what color it is. These are live pictures from Rome. That smoke appears white. That is white smoke, and the bells of St. Peter's Basilica are ringing. We have a pope. Let's listen in for just a moment.
The white smoke. And I mean, as we were talking about before, the crowds are, it's the square's packed.
It's incredible.
And that's probably small compared to what's going in now.
And that smoke just scared away our seagulls there, the little family there that was just relaxing on Sistine Chapel roof there.
But actually, as you mentioned at the beginning, TJ, it seemed like they did know. They came back just for the white smoke.
Indeed. In fact, and maybe they were giving us a kind of a secret a bit of information that they knew that we didn't know. But here we are. And then a spectacular, sunny, brilliant evening here. And you can even see from the perspective of the crowds there in St. Peter's Square, the white smoke billowing from the chimney, even as the sun starts going down behind the dome of St. Peter's there.
Thanks be to God.
And this smoke will last at least about 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes. And with the light breeze there in the square, we can see it billowing down towards the square. And we've got now basically about, it's going to be 45 minutes to at least an hour at least. Before
the breaking news of the hour, the breaking news of the day happening right now in Rome. You see the bells of St. Peter's Basilica ringing for the first time since the funeral of Pope Francis. There is white smoke coming from the Sistine Chapel. That means the 133 voting cardinals inside have chosen a new pope for the Roman Catholic Church. The world's 1.4 billion Catholics have a new leader. Here's what we know. About all we know is that the cardinals inside the Sistine Chapel, as we stick with these live pictures, have chosen a pope. We do not know who he is. We do not know what name he will take. We do want to know we do not have control over the images and the pictures we are showing you from Rome. This is a pool camera that the Vatican sets up for all of the networks around the world, including us, to look at. So the Vatican is controlling the different shots that you see from there in St. Peter's Basilica. It's going to be about 30, 45 minutes, possibly an hour, until we know who the cardinals have chosen to be the pope. We will see the senior deacon cardinal come out of the balcony, that porch in front of St. Peter's Basilica. He will say in Latin, Annuncio vobis magnum gaudium, habemus papam, which translates to, I announce to you a great joy, we have a pope. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening inside the Vatican right now. As you see the crowds start to come into St. Peter's Basilica from around Rome, many of whom have been waiting there throughout the day to see this white smoke come from the Sistine Chapel. It was black smoke earlier today, now it is white, and that is going to send people from all across Rome heading into St. Peter's Square. What is happening right now inside the Sistine Chapel and inside the Vatican is whoever these cardinals have chosen, the senior deacon cardinal, essentially the leader inside this conclave, has gone up to this cardinal and said, do you accept this role? And he will say something to the effect, I do, with trust in God, with faith in God, I accept this role. And then he will head to what is known as the Room of Tears. That's a room that's not terribly far from the Sistine Chapel, and he will go in and he will vest. He will get on the white vestments that the Pope wears. There are 3 sizes inside that Room of Tears, small, medium, and large. He will put on those white vestments. And it's called the Room of Tears because often the men who are chosen to be Pope go in there, and when they see those white vestments, they start putting on those vestments, they break down in tears because they start to understand the gravity of the responsibility that they have accepted, but also has been thrust upon them. They are now the leader of 1.4 billion Catholics around the world. And that process that I just described, that process that I just walked you through, is going to take anywhere between 30 minutes, 45 minutes, to possibly upwards of an hour. So it could very well be up to 1 o'clock before we see whoever the next pope is, the 267th successor of St. Peter, walk out onto the balcony of St. Peter's Square. He'll be introduced by the senior deacon cardinal, and then he will say hello to the world. Pope Francis famously said when he was elected back in 2013, he simply said, Buenos Aires. He said, good evening to everybody in Italian. It's not clear what this Pope will say, but he will give some sort of message, some sort of greeting, and then he will give a he will give a blessing to the people that are there, and he'll give a blessing to everyone who is watching on the live stream. One of the things that is remarkable to watch, and it gives you a sense of just how broad Catholicism is around the world, and it gives you a sense also of just how significant of a job being Pope is once we get back to a shot like this, I want you to look at all the flags, the different nationalities that are here to witness this moment. You will see flags from across Europe. You will see flags from across North America, South America, Asia, Central America. And it shows you just how far people have traveled to be part of this moment, but it shows you how big of a reach Catholicism has around the world. I've been to several papal events in my lifetime, and that is one of the things that has always struck me, is how it's a religion that draws people from around the world. And this man, whoever has been chosen inside the Sistine Chapel, one of 133 voting cardinals, he is now in charge of a global religion, a religion that has grown significantly in parts of the world that you may not have thought of in years past. Places like Africa, places like Asia in recent years has become much more of a global religion. It's one of the reasons we saw Pope John Paul II travel as far as he did, one of the most well-traveled popes in recent history, as we look at the white smoke billowing out of the chapel, out of the Sistine Chapel. That smoke is coming from the ballots that have been burned, the ballots that the cardinals cast. They burn them after every vote. The reason we only saw one round of smoke this morning is because they took the ballots from the first two rounds of voting this morning and they put them into essentially one burn pile, and they burned them in just one session. So that's why we only saw one plume, one puff of black smoke this morning. Something significant to consider here with this. What may have happened? What may have triggered the Cardinals getting to that 2/3 majority on day 2 of voting? It very well could have been something as simple as lunch. This happened, according to Pope Francis, when he was elected back in 2013. You'll remember yesterday they had that first round of voting, and the first 2 rounds of voting happened again this morning when we saw the black smoke. And that was the point the Cardinals went to lunch. We have no indication of how close they were to one candidate or another, but there was almost undoubtedly some sort of discussion, some sort of haggling, if you will, some sort of back and forth between people who may have been on the fence, people who may have been leaning one way or another. And just give me a second, folks, if I pause here, because I'm talking to our news director who's back in the booth as we kind of take you through this breaking news. But that lunch may have been significant. Okay, on the left side of your screen, you see the last little bit of that white smoke coming out of the Sistine Chapel. On the right side of your screen, you see who were considered by many of the so-called Vatican watchers to be the top dogs in this race, the top 3 cardinals going into this. The man you see on the left, he's from Italy, that is Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He is the Vatican Secretary of State. He is the highest-ranking cardinal inside the conclave. He was the one who you saw, if you were watching the procession yesterday, lead all of the cardinals into the Sistine Chapel. He has been by Pope Francis's side for a good chunk of his papacy. And as you see in the text there on your screen, he was proclaimed a cardinal by Pope Francis. And Pope Francis noted in one of his books that it was Parolin who he sent to different locations around the world when Francis was unable to travel because of different health-related issues. So certainly someone who brings a lot of Vatican experience to the plate. In the middle, you have Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. He is from the Philippines. I had the chance to see him speak in person when I was in Krakow in 2016 for World Youth Day, which is a global Catholic event bringing together young people from around the world. I can tell you he is a very engaging personality. He is very animated. He speaks very good English. And it was a very memorable talk that he gave in this arena in Krakow that was filled with young people from around the United States. He is sometimes referred to as the Asian Francis, sort of having this similar attitude to many of the big issues facing the Catholic Church that Pope Francis did, maybe a softer tone when expressing some of the Church's teachings on issues like LGBTQ, on divorced and remarried Catholics, on divorced Catholics who are receiving communion. So he was seen as someone who would maybe be a continuation of Pope Francis. The final man you see on the right, that is Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzabella, who certainly gets some points just on name credit, on name style. He is from Italy, but he is from the Holy Land, from Jerusalem. He is the cardinal there, the patriarch, the Latin patriarch, excuse me, of the Holy Land, also appointed by Pope Francis. He is young. He is just 60 years old, but he is someone who would maybe be more of a middle ground thought of and sort of a consensus candidate if one of the leaders could not get to that 2/3 majority. Why is he up front in the running at so young? Well, first of all, it's the location. The fact that he is from Jerusalem puts him at the forefront, that he's navigated the conflict in the Holy Land between Hamas and Israel. In fact, at one point offered to exchange himself to Hamas, send himself to Hamas in exchange for children hostages Hamas took when it invaded Israel in October of 2023 and took those hostages. He speaks several languages fluently, including Hebrew and Arabic, as well as Italian, and very good English, I should note, as well. Let's recap here for just a second. You are looking live at St. Peter's Square, where white smoke has been seen from the Sistine Chapel. We got the bell confirmation, the campanore, the giant bell on the facade of St. Peter's Basilica has rung. That was the final piece of confirmation that we needed. You're looking live at the balcony. This is the balcony where we will first see the senior cardinal deacon come out. He will proclaim that a pope has been chosen. He'll say several phrases in Latin. He'll greet everybody in the square by saying brothers and sisters in several different languages. He'll go back inside St. Peter's Basilica, and then the first indication we'll have that the new pope is coming out, we'll see a crucifix come out. There'll be somebody leading a very small procession that will come out onto the balcony, and then we will see the new pope who will appear for the first time. We'll also, when that senior cardinal deacon announces that a pope has been chosen, we will learn the name the new pope will take. That is significant because it gives you a sense of what kind of papacy they're going to have. John Paul II was taken as a tribute to his predecessor, John Paul I, who served just a very short time. Pope Francis, the first pope to take the name of Francis in tribute to Francis of Assisi, St. Francis of Assisi from northern Italy, this idea that Pope Francis wanted to be in service to the poor. So we'll get an idea of what name this cardinal will take. It could be any number of names that have been chosen, or he could break tradition as Francis did and pick an entirely new name. A jubilant crowd inside St. Peter's Square right now, continuing to come from the ancient streets of Rome. We're going to just take a little bit of a listen in here as we await the appearance and the name and everything else we are anticipating right now with a new pope chosen. Let's go live to Rome.
Fantastic. And you'll be telling all your friends about this experience you're having here right now in the future, I'm sure.
Well, thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. We're going to be back with you very soon for more update on all happening in the square there. So, Monsignor Vitilla, tell us a bit about this experience for you now. I mean, this experiencing it live, the smoke coming out here, and now our great sense of anticipation for who the next pope will be.
Well, it's just such a privilege to be here in Rome at this time, but also I probably felt closest to Pope Francis because I've served him in different ways, both as the in my work at Caritas Internationalis and then also at the Secretary General of the International Catholic Migration Commission. I always used to say he's the best guru you could ever have to do public relations on migrants and refugees, and I don't have to pay him a thing, you know. So, and there were many times when I was able to meet him, and it was so beautiful an experience each time. So the emotions are more now than they were other times because I loved the popes, but they were strange to me. I didn't know them so well. I met Pope John Paul II a couple times, but not as closely as working with Pope Francis. It's wonderful, it's exciting, and then it's a real privilege to be here at Vatican Radio and to have been part of our smoke watching together.
It's now smoke warning, of course. So, and a severe smoke warning.
Exactly.
White smoke, that makes it even more severe, so to speak. But it's severe good news, I like to joke and say.
Yes.
But,
I think it's going to be very nice. I'm very happy that I was here. And just when I was walking out the door, and I just thought, I don't want to be alone in this moment. This is a moment of ecclesia. This is the moment of people gathered together. I'm going to run back upstairs and knock on the door and see if they'll let me back. I'm so happy to be able to share this moment, and I love this view of the square and all of these people who are gathering together in really a tremendous sense of rejoicing. This is after our 9 days of mourning, after the shock of Pope Francis's death. We are rejoicing again, and that is very lovely for a beautiful, beautiful day in Rome.
Yeah, stunning. Actually, perfect weather, and I like to jokingly call this kind of weather severe good weather. It's just wonderful. It's sunny and brilliant, and of course, I remember in 2013 when Pope Francis was elected. It was during the evening.
We continue to bring you live images from a history-making day at the Vatican and a history-making day around the world. About just after noon, we saw white smoke come from the Sistine Chapel, indicating the 133 voting cardinals inside the Sistine Chapel have reached a 2/3 majority and have picked a new pope to lead the Roman Catholic Church. It will still be roughly a half hour before we learn his name and what name he will take. We will see him on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica there in Rome as you see the crowd continue to gather. The word continues to spread through those ancient streets of Rome, and St. Peter's Square starts filling up. The square itself can hold roughly 90,000 people, but if you start cramming people down the road, the Via della Conciliazione that leads into St. Peter's Square, you could get about 100,000 people in there, and the word quickly spreads throughout Rome, and people will realize they have time to get there, and then anxiously await the first appearance of the man who will be the 265th leader of the Roman Catholic Church. His election came on the, we believe, third ballot of the second day of voting. That smoke appeared just after noon, so it's just about 6:30 right now, Rome time. It'll be, we think, probably 1 o'clock by the time we see the new pope appear on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. As we continue to look at the crowds that are continuing to fill St. Peter's Basilica, and you can see they've essentially almost filled in the entire square there. There's a little bit of a buffer room, and then if you look at the road leading into St. Peter's Square, they've started filling in there as well. The Vatican has different TV screens. You can see them right there, giving people a better view of of that balcony that everybody is going to be watching. That is a very expansive area, so if you are near the back of St. Peter's Square, you do not necessarily have the best possible view, the best seat in the house. A lot of unknowns with this election. We do not know who he is. Right now, we assume the next pope is vesting, getting on the white vestments in the Room of Tears. The Cardinals are pledging loyalty and obedience to the man who is essentially going to be their next boss, when you think about it, how the hierarchy is stacked up within the Roman Catholic Church as tens of thousands of people make their way into St. Peter's Square. We are going to let you go shortly here from 9 and 10 News. We appreciate you sticking with us as we bring you this history live right here in northern Michigan. We will take a quick break, and then we will hand things off to a CBS News special report. So stay with us. In about a half hour, we're going to learn who the next pope is. Thanks so much for joining us for a historic 9 and 10 News at noon. I'm David Lyden. Much more on the election of the 267th pope tonight on 9 and 10 News at 5 and 6. We leave you with these live images from Rome.
A long shot there, and crowds coming down the main avenue, Via della Conciliazione. There are security checks, of course, which is one reason that the crowds may kind of trickle in more than be running into the square. Unfortunately, it's absolutely necessary nowadays. So,
Sure, you could see them coming from the security.
So there's already a metal check, and also we have to ensure the safety and security of the square. So.
Well, and as we're seeing all this jubilation and excitement, sadly, we have to say goodbye to...
I'm like those sports stars that keep quitting and then coming back. I mean, you'll probably see me back in like another 15 minutes.
Yeah, you are welcome to come back.
Or a bit like the seagull coming in and around the chimney.
I really like the sports
welcome.
Star comparison better, but I'll handle seagull.
Okay.
Thank you so much once again. I'm so happy we got to share this moment together.
Thank you for being here
Thank
with
you.
us.
Well, and as Liz mentioned before, when we were talking about what is happening